We are live baking. We are baking today. We're gonna start in a couple minutes. We are actually not baking a ton. We're putting together a pavlova, and I made so many this week, and 2 of you recommended recipes that I had not tried. So I'm gonna be showing you the results of just all my different testing, and then we're gonna put them together. I tested other recipes. There are other theories, and so we can use other theories, and I've kind of developed my parameters. So we'll talk about that today. Yeah, I love the recipe test, and I got 2 recipe recommendations. One from I think maybe they're both from New Zealand, but I actually am going to talk about them, and then I have some of the results. So we have the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we're going to do it all. All right, there we go. It's noon. It is the PoP Baking Club, the practice of pastry. Hello, pastry practitioners. I call you the PoPers. And we're here to... Hi, be gone. Thank you. We're here to put everything together that I baked on Wednesday, and I've been baking since Wednesday. So I've been doing experiments and thinking about how I wanted to finish these, and it's going to be fun because I have like 3 round pavlovas, 1 that's going to be a rectangle, and then I have a ton of small ones. I have bird's nests, and I have a few decorations. I'm going to show you. We are all back here to bake together and talk about how baking is a science. However, there are so many variables that we have to be ready to respond to them. What do you do if the bake isn't up to your standards but it's still good? Well, we eat it. I tend to not give it away. If I have to explain why it's not good, I'm not going to give it away. But I'll compost it, and you know, that's why I'm really into making small batches and then testing it 3 times in a row. That saves on waste. So if there's a way that you can approach baking and keep the cost and the waste down, one way is to practice doing things with cheaper ingredients. Or if you have old ingredients that are going out of date, you can always practice and play with those and then compost them. So I never compost things that are out of date. I always use them, but I don't eat them. So that's one good trick. So today we are going to wrap up our Pavlova week, and it is Pavlova day 2. So we came here on Wednesday and I showed you how to whip a meringue, and that is 1 recipe and 1 method. And what I did is I got some recommendations. This is on my Substack. I got recommendations for 2 recipes. I think they're both from New Zealand, but I don't want to start a fight between New Zealand and Australia, but I'm pretty sure they're both from New Zealand. One is from Edmonds, New Zealand, but the Edmonds, New Zealand recipe and Donna Haye. So I have both of those recipes, and I actually did them, and this is what the Donna Haye one looks like. The reason I did this is because I really like trying what you guys send me, and then this was the other one, and I had to convert this one. Donna's Haye's was mostly in grams except for the vinegar. And what I did is I made a chart so that I could compare directly. Well, here's what I found out. When I put all of these meringues into my formulator, and I used the egg whites as 100%. So at the top, you'll see they're all 100%. That's our baker's percentage because we don't have flour in here. We're going to go off of the egg whites, okay? And what I did is I looked at how much sugar compared to the egg whites were in all these different meringues. And generally, they were 1-to-1 or 1-to-2. And then there are a couple that are just a little bit different. And when we get to these meringues, because I have them here today, like I have the Edmonds and the Donna Haye, and I will talk about what makes them different, but they also use different ingredients. So some of these meringues have vinegar in them, but not cornstarch. And then I broke down my 10X at 5% cornstarch. I just averaged it at 5%, and I took it out of my 10X, and then I looked at the percentage. And it turns out it's exactly 3% of the overall batch, which is the same as when other people add cornstarch at the end. Some people add vinegar at the end. Ottolenghi does. Edmonds does. Wait, do they? Yep. Donna Haye does. And other people do half sucrose, half 10X. And some people do all sucrose. And they do it at 222%, 146%, 200%, 150%. So mine actually has a little more cornstarch in it than when you add the cornstarch separately. Because some people said it can't be a pavlova if it doesn't have cornstarch in it. It's in the 10X, and it is. And that is why I have so much fun with the formulator, because I just put all my recipes in, and I put the percentage of the ingredients, and you can see some don't have things. The gray parts are what they don't have. They don't have 10X. These don't have cornstarch. This is salt. This is vinegar, and what do we have in the bottom? And the method. So some of them were bang it really fast and add the sucrose all at one time. Others will go really slow. And then a lot had adding the 10X at the very end. Okay, I also made today a matzo streusel, and I really like it. So that's one of our crunches. But what was really interesting is that when I looked at the pavlova meringue that I made, there were several others in all of the textbooks and that were exactly the same ratio. So when people start getting really adamant about one recipe being better than another, if you break it down, you can see that they are more similar than they are dissimilar. So that's what I learned this week. I learned that you can choose the speed at which you go on your meringue, but you've got to get them into the oven right away if you do that so they don't deflate. How grainy a meringue will be depending on how you add the sucrose, how stable they are, and I accidentally turned my oven on one day and I had a pavlova in there and I didn't know it, so it got really brown. So we're going to be able to look at sort of my mistakes, my insights, and I don't want you to be thinking that there's one answer. Remember, I'm not selling you a recipe. I am telling you how to look at a recipe and break it down using baker's percentage, and today we're using egg whites is 100%, that's like our flour. Then you can look at a recipe and you can say, you know, this looks like a good ratio, this looks good. The thing I do is find a recipe that I love and then I stick with it. So what I'm gonna do a fit check really quick, let you know what's going on here. I am pretending as if I'm coming to your home for a special meal. We've got Passover this month, we've got Easter coming up, and a lot of the things that I'm offering you are gluten-free. And this is something that you can let people know if there are no other desserts that are gluten-free. I have gluten-free people in my family. That's helpful. And yeah, let me do the fit check. So this is not as, I mean, okay, maybe I'm a hostess. Maybe I'm a guest. I don't know. But I'm showing up with food and I'm going to have minimal jewelry. I don't have a bunch of jewelry on my arms, but I do have my wedding band and I have earrings. I have my hair pulled back, but a little bit down. And I have short sleeves on, which I find to be safe. And today I have I love clogs and I wear them all the time. But I also like a little zhuzh, so these clogs have a bit of a heel. But if I run into these safety problems, I can just knock them off, okay? So I am going to wash my hands. I've already got my hair up, which is great. And I am going to be running around kind of back and forth and getting all of these things, but I'm going to pretend like I showed up at your house with a tote bag full of toppings and my pavlova, and I'm here to put my pavlova together, and I'm going to show you a couple different ways that you can make it a group project, or you can just do it in the kitchen and present everybody. Yes, oh, I got to pull my thing up. 10X is what's at the grocery store. Occasionally you will see 6X in a box, but 10X is typically what you see. Okay, I'm going to try not to touch my glasses. Glasses are new. I started wearing them after I left a professional kitchen setting and started working for myself. So I'm going to move you guys over here. I'm going to keep my recipes close by because I want to be able to check in with them as we talk, because this is just going to be decorative and pretty and fun. A decorative day, that's what we're doing. I love decorative stuff. A lot of times, serious chefs try to bully us into thinking that you can't do things pretty. Ooh. But I like everything pretty. I like everything to be pretty. Okay, I'm going to pull my hair back, and then I'm going to clean the counter, and I'm going to do wash my hands. And a lot of you ask, you can use bleach in a sandy bucket with a tester strip, or you can just use a disinfectant. It's not my favorite brand. It's just what I happen to use. And my table has already been cleaned, but I'm going to disinfect it and let it air dry while I wash my hands. Whipping egg whites and folding them in is called, yes, it's a sponge method. There are French sponges, and then there are like genoise, which is when you're using a whole egg. And there are also times when you whip the egg, and I think this French sponge might be egg whites and egg yolks are separately whipped. and then put together. But what I like about that is that the cake is very sturdy. So sometimes the sponge cake is not best for stacking and transporting and doing a lot too. That's why I really like the high yield cake when we're doing like a wedding cake or something like that, or a really tall, sturdy American or a celebration cake. So this French sponge cake is great. Very good. I've been more conscious and clean when using eggs. That's great. I'm so glad to hear that, because you don't have to go overboard, but you just have to be aware that it is an issue. It's not a non-issue. People can try to make it a non-issue, but it is an issue. Okay, so I'm going to do two things really quick to kind of get us started. And I am going to take a couple of toppings that I'm putting onto the pavlova, and I want to toast them, okay? These are pistachios. I'm going to toast these just lightly. Your pistachios, you want to chop them up to what you think would be really nice when you are taking some pavlova and eating it, okay? You don't want a giant. I have desiccated unsweetened coconut here. And I am going to take this little King Arthur plastic bench scraper, and I'm going to make divots. And these divots, they help it get a little surface area, so when I am toasting it, it's not just flat. Because if it's just flat, just that very top is going to get a little bit brown. I'm going to put these in the oven, and I'm going to set a timer for 5 minutes, but I'm also going to be very aware if I can smell anything. And the timer's just to tell me that they're in there. With the nuts, I want to refresh them a little bit, bring a little bit of their oil and their flavor, the smell out. They've been in the freezer because I bought a huge bag of them and I can't use them up fast enough. And then this, I'm just doing, this is the coconut. This is just a color. So I'm going to put these in the oven. And my oven's over here. Set the timer. Sorry to put my bum in your face. All right, there we go. Let me just grab a few things so that you can see what I'm doing here. I'm going to make whipped cream, Chantilly cream, and out of my cooler comes my cold bowl and the whip. Now you could put it in the freezer, but I didn't feel the need to. I'm going to whip my whipped cream, my Chantilly cream. This is going to be for my pavlova, and you could do this ahead of time. I just chose to do it now because I wanted to include you in how I make it. I thought that would be nice. The master baker, thank you. I've thought about getting my certification as a master baker, CMB. One of my mentors was the first female CMB in the country to get her certified master baker, and then she was absolutely the first one in Wisconsin, Deb. So these just came out of the fridge. I have heavy whipping cream, and I'm not going to measure it. So while I do measure most things, some things I don't. So I'm going to get this started on low, and everything's cold. The cream's cold, the bowl's cold, the whip is cold. Remember, I make my own vanilla sugar, and I really like the color. This has an insane amount of vanilla beans in it. It is so brown, and it smells amazing, and it's absolutely going to color my whipped cream. If you're going to add sugar to whipped cream to make Chantilly, around 10% is a good amount. I like to add it early so it can dissolve, and I am going to eyeball it, but around 10%. And I will taste it to verify. Are you guys excited to see the pavlovas? I'm going to get them right away. All of my fruit is in the refrigerator, but I have the really stunning strawberries that will sort of be the showstoppers on the top. And mine actually don't have those beautiful stems, but if I were to finish off one and be bringing it somewhere, I would look for the kind that have the big beautiful stem. They did not have them at my grocery store. They have them at Whole Foods most of the time. I'm sure they've raised the price because of the holidays coming up. Yeah, so I'm going to get pavlovas. So let me show you, because I'm going to be walking around and bring some stuff over here. Okay. So first of all, I have this beautiful cake stand. It's going to be for one of my pavlovas. I've done videos on this before. This is giant. It's all hand blown. I had this made 25 years ago by someone in Seattle because they have a really good hand blown tradition, and I absolutely love it. So this is perfect for what I want to do. This is one of my little pavlovas. This is a Dana Haye's recommendation from New Zealand, I think, or Australia. And this is the rice at the bottom, and this is my pavlova inside. So you can see it's stayed nice and dry inside its little nest of parchment and rice. That's how I kept it fresh. My other ones have gotten a little soggy. I haven't had time to try anything because I've been so busy like experimenting with all of our stuff. Okay, here we go. So fun. So this is the pavlova that was left in the oven, and then I turned the oven on and I didn't catch it till I saw it was at 270 degrees. So it's a little brown, as are all the little nests that I made. I personally don't hate this, but it's not going to be chewy on the inside, I'm almost positive. These are birds' nests that I made. And they came out very white, very nice, dry, but they'll be chewy on the inside, which is fabulous. Did I not set the timer? I just talked about setting the timer and then flat out didn't do it. I'm going to set that for the coconut for 3 minutes. That could be too long. All right, next. This is the Dana Haye, and I made it today. And I'm going to layer it. So I'm going to have the bottom and the top and it'll almost be like a cake. Okay, let's see. I just made this morning. So it's dry enough and it's chewy and it's really white and beautiful. 2 little pillows. Let me check the cream. All right, we're doing well. We keep everything close by. And then this guy is the weirdest. This one I made on Thursday morning. So it has gathered a bunch of humidity, which is problematic, and I did put it back in the oven. But this one's no longer edible, but I really did like the freeze-dried blueberry, and I think the color is beautiful. So I thought we would have fun decorating it, and I'll still eat all the fruit and everything off it, and I'll taste it, but it's not going to be optimum. I wouldn't serve this. Is the Chantilly Cream stable? Yes, and I could have made the Chantilly yesterday and put it in the refrigerator, but I wanted to make it now so I could have a nice consistency that I could work with. It does look like a flower, and all I did with this guy, and I did a video on it, is scoops, and then I layered them. Now again, this looked really beautiful, but I did it last Wednesday. So can these last a day or two, depending on your humidity? Yeah. But did I push it a little too far? Yeah, I did. Let's see. The cream is still very liquidy. It's not doing much. And then this I did this morning with the Donna Haye's. Okay, and normally I would sprinkle them with maybe a little bit of cocoa nib or a little sucre grande or things like that. But I decided to just pipe them this morning and show you what they look like, because we'll be making, I'm going to show you how I make here's a stem for a mushroom. I'm going to show you how I put these together so you can see. It's going to look like a mushroom, okay? Super easy. And then look at this little bitty bird's nest. Little teeny tiny little bird's nest. And then one of the things I love making are flowers. And you can do this in 2 stages. So I could have made them separately and added a little bit of decoration to the center. You know, nonpareils, you can do all kinds of stuff, but I did not. And then I made a bunch of leaves, like leaves. And then these little half flowers, which I thought would look cute. You know, the smaller, this is too big, but a little small flower on top of a little bird's nest would be cute. And then let me look at the cream. All right, let's see. Oh, it's too dark. And the pistachios somehow. Too dark, I knew it would be. Pistachios are fine. Here is what I'm going to do. So now this goes off, my oven's off. So I did these a little too dark, but to be honest, when I kind of stir around, would I use this? Yeah, it's probably going to have a really good flavor. I'm just going to stir them a little bit, and then I'm going to get them off the pan so that they don't continue to cook. And I'm going to spread it out so that they don't get sweaty. I want them to stay dry. So I'm going to spread it out like this so they can release some of their moisture, and I'm just going to pull the whole parchment off the tray and let it cool. Okay. Now I'm going to put it it on a stainless steel table because they're cold, and they are kind of nice for, there we go. Right. And then my pistachios are gonna cool. And the thing you don't wanna do after you toast nuts or toppings is put them back warm into a deli cup, because if you do that, you're gonna get steam and they're gonna get soggy again. So you're gonna negate what you just did. So some of these are decorations, some of them will make like just a nice little mini individual. So for this, I could put a little cream, little lemon cream in there, and some whipped cream and some fruit, and that's a little individual dessert. So I'll show you all the platings as we move along. Let's see how we're doing. I'm gonna turn my whipped cream up just a little bit. Okay. So I'm gonna show you how, if I were to show up at your house with my toppings, what it would look like. Yes, I give everything away. You know, sometimes my husband will take it to work, sometimes the neighbors will get something, but unless it's bad, it gets eaten. Like the blueberry is so old, it's not gonna be eaten because I made it on Wednesday and it's not gonna be great. All right, let me look at, I don't wanna lose track of my cream. If you aren't washing, you're not babysitting something, you don't want to bang it. You want to let it go really slow. So you're going to turn it down. That's kind of your insurance policy. Okay, so I did not have a shopping bag. Like, I would prefer to use a paper one because this one doesn't really have a sturdy bottom. But this is the tote bag that I have. And this is what I would do if I were coming over to your house. I would go into my refrigerator and I would pull out all of my deli cups and I would stack them. This is my passion cream. This is my lemon cream. And I put the tall ones on the bottom. These are my orange slices, pineapple, and then some of these I don't have lids on, but I would if I were transporting them. But the tall ones will go in here. And these stack for days. Here's all my fruit. Let me get a lid, it'll make it easier. I know I shouldn't have the fridge open this long, I don't normally. If you have a lid on these, you can stack them indefinitely and they will actually stay really, really nicely. I think that's it. Okay, so then let's just pretend I was bringing this to your house. I wouldn't bring this much because I would be like, okay, I need to pick. But I made everything for you guys. These are all my berries, all my fruit, everything that I cut up, okay? For now, I'm gonna get a tray. It's gonna make my life a little bit easier. Okay, and as soon as I get this stuff gathered, we are gonna start putting our desserts together. And we are either going to use plates for individual or we're gonna use cake stands. Because this can either be made in the kitchen and then brought out as a big dramatic thing, or it can be made individually on plates so you can serve the plates, or you could do it at the table. And I'll show you how to do that. So here are my toppings, okay? This is my shopping bag, so easy. And I could have put my pavlova, so I would walk into your house with the pavlova and my toppings. I'd be like, here I am. So easy peasy. Now this would need to be in the refrigerator, and that's maybe not something nice you want to do to a host who might not have enough room in their fridge. But if you let them know in advance, I wouldn't have this much, but they do stack very nicely. Look. And some of these, I don't know if they're traditional, but we are trying to get something started in the US. We want people to know that a pavlova is easy and fun and beautiful, because I would love to see more pavlovas this season and this summer if we can, because it is such a beautiful dessert to make and it's not that hard. All right, so I've got raspberries. I did some supremes with, they were all supposed to be the red ruby grapefruit, but they're not. I have orange supremes, blueberries, which I rinse and dry, and I pick all the best ones. I like firm, tart blueberries. The kiwi I diced, and you see how humid this is? Humidity is not your friend with fruit. So I do two things. I either turn my fruit over every other day. When I buy fruit, I do that. When I walk in with my fruit from the grocery store, I flip it over. That allows the moisture to redistribute, and so that's what I would do if I were keeping these. because gravity pulls all the water to the bottom and makes these soggy, and it's humid. The other thing you can do is just crack open your container, and when it dries out a bit, you can close it. But you really should pay attention to the humidity in your fruit. Okay, so this is my pineapple that I diced, and even though it's really light in color, it has great flavor, which is interesting. I have whole strawberries, but I also have chopped strawberries, sliced, rather not chopped. And these are my blackberries, and I have two kinds. One that are gigantic. Look at how big that's a blackberry. And then the ones toward the bottom are smaller. So they can either be sliced or left whole. They're very beautiful. And then I have pineapple that I left in larger chunks, a larger dice. And then this is my passion fruit cream, because you guys all wanted me to do passion fruit, so I bought passion fruit puree, and this is delicious. The recipe's to die for. And then this is my lemon cream, okay? I'm gonna put these back in the cooler, because they're very sensitive to temperature. All right, let me see how my whipped cream is doing. I'm gonna show you, because you'll know. And you know I like doing everything low and slow. I could go a lot faster and get this done, but that's just not how I do things. So then my tote bag's done, and when I leave, all I have to do is grab all my deli cups, if there's any left over, and just take it with me. Perfect situation. So I'm gonna leave my fruit here on the ready, and I'm going to put my mushrooms together. You guys wanna see how I do my mushrooms? These are just deli cups. I do not get the hot kind. They're so much thicker and really hard to get the lids off, and it's just overkill for pastry. I get these at Restaurant Depot, and you have to buy the lid separately from the bottom, so don't forget your lids. These are terrible lids. They crack, they're horrible. They don't, but if you have hot and cold, these don't go on hot, and hot lids don't go on cold. So just be careful which ones you're buying so that you get them. And they're not sturdy, but they really do stack nicely. And when you put these into a bag, the side of a shopping bag holds them together. They work perfectly. They work really great. Oh, I use them forever until they crack. And I only put them in the microwave if I'm loosening something like glucose syrup for like 5 seconds. I don't cook in them, and I don't put hot stuff in them. I cool things first and then transfer them to here. And what else? And they go there. See where they are over here? I stack them, and they barely take up any room. So I just love them. All right, so let's see what we're working with here. After I'm done with the whipped cream, I'm gonna store it in the refrigerator, but I'm gonna keep an eye on it, because when you have whipped cream in the fridge, the outside gets really hard and the inside stays soft, so you either wanna stir it occasionally or pull it out. So on Wednesdays, I showed you how to do the pavlova, and then in between I make videos of all the recipes that go with it, and then those go on my profile page. So the passion cream video is gonna be there today. It's gonna be up tonight. So that's kind of how this whole thing works. Wednesdays I show you the main recipe, and the recipe this week that ties it all together is the pavlova, and all these other recipes, the lemon cream, the passion fruit cream, are additional, but they're complementary. And then on Sundays we come back and we kind of put it all together. Okay, let me see. And I can also put this in the fridge before it gets too firm, which is what I'm going to do. So this is my whipped cream. It's plenty firm right now, but I'm not going to use it for just a minute. And it's warm-ish in here. Finally, I got the heat up and then I turned it down. Maybe I'm just warm, I don't know. But can you see how much the sugar, all of my vanilla bean sugar, made it really brown and delicious? All right, so here we go. I have a couple more toppings. I'm going to show you. A couple more toppings. First of all, I'm just going to use leftover white chocolate chips to make my meringue mushrooms. I'm going to stick them together with this. This is the matzo crunch. This is like a streusel with potato starch, cinnamon, matzo flour, and a little salt, and then butter. And there will be a video about this. This is gluten-free. And then here are some almond slivers I toasted earlier. I like them dark. Almond slivers are a really nice texture for the top of a pavlova because they're thin and delicate. Okay, so they'll add a nice crunch, a nice richness to the sweet pavlova and color, but not so much that the texture does not go together. And then if you want, this is just a toffee crunch. I don't know. If I had more of a chocolate profile, that would have been fun. And then these are these beautiful coconut flakes that I toasted before you guys got here. And just gave them a nice color. Also very beautiful and with pretty color. Okie dokie. So then I'm gonna make the mushrooms. So when my pistachios and other coconut is cool, then I can put all of that in here. I can put it into a deli cup. But if you toast this and then pour it right into here before it's cooled, you'll just gather a lot of humidity and it'll get soggy again. Right now, this is very crunchy, which I like. I like the crunch. When do you stop the whipped cream? Soft, medium, or hard? I never take it all the way to hard peaks, although today I am going to be piping it. I always like to stop things at medium. Hard is like you've gone too far. You're almost on the edge of getting it curdled. So I don't ever take the egg whites or anything that I'm whipping on the mixer beyond medium stiff. The really soft is really nice if you're doing a topping with a spoon, but if you want it to hold a shape, and I'm going to put it into a pastry bag with a star tip, I'm going to go to medium. I did not stabilize my whipped cream. You can do that, and I've got videos on it. You can stabilize it with gelatin, and stabilization with the whipped cream means you're locking in the water. So if you've ever whipped an egg white or whipped cream and walked away and come back and there's water at the end of the bowl, that is not a stable emulsion. So I put it in the fridge to hold it together because the cold can help with your emulsion. So these are just regular chocolate chips. They're not melting chocolates, but I'm going to use them to put my meringue mushrooms together. I'm going to put it in the microwave for, I don't know, 10 seconds. These are very easy to stick together and they're very fast. That's 10 seconds. And as you can see, when you are melting any kind of chocolate chip or chocolate in general, it's not that you're pulling it out to stir it. You don't want to microwave it till it's so melted that it's already sticking to the bottom, because then you're going to get it scorched. So I'd rather pull it out and loosen it up and then stick it back in and go slow. 10 more seconds. If you're doing a large batch, I start chocolate or chocolate chips out in the microwave 45 seconds and then 10 to 15 second intervals after that, and no more than that, or you will end up scorching. Okay, so once again, I'm just making sure that they're not stuck. So they're not really, you know, microwaves are weird the way that they cook. So it's not melty, but they're loosening up. The mushrooms are going to take 2 seconds to put together, and if I wanted to, I could dust cocoa powder over them. I could take food dye, make them little red dots, or I could use matcha to make them look. And that is where you get into the decorative nature of a pavlova. For my blueberry one, I could do all moody dark fruits and dark colors and herbs and things that are dark greens and mossy, and make it kind of like a theme, like a woodland theme. Or you can do the white with just bright colors, you know, like kiwi and strawberry. And so I like to choose a theme and stick with a color palette and kind of go with 3 colors at the most. But this is what I'm going to be working on. I'm going to take the little mushroom bottoms, little stems, and stick them to the caps. And I am not working with gloves because I am not going to be serving any of this or charging any money for it. But if you're going to do meringues, because I got to tell you, my gosh, like if you did a bag and you sell meringue cookies by the pound. So you could do meringue mushrooms, put them in a bag at half a pound or whatever, and they will fly. And how adorable. And you can make them any color, but you definitely want to wear gloves while you're working. So this is a chocolate chip, and it is melting kind of weird, but I'm going to give it one more blast, and that will give me what I need to stick my mushrooms together. And once we get started putting these together, it's going to be done. So the trick is that the meringue that you choose is going to give you the right texture, and then how you bake it, when you make it, how humid the weather is where you live. I like to use cork to keep the cold off of the chocolate, but all you need to do is choose. And if you've seen any of my videos with meringue mushrooms, I'm going to line up all my little caps in a row and all of the stems, maybe on 2 separate trays, and then I'm going to put them together. Normally I don't do this many styles. I would just do one. But I'm going to choose, this is the stem and this is the cap, and these are slightly sticky from the humidity. And then I'm going to stick this on here, and my hand's like sticking to it. That's it. It's already stuck. It's already a little mushroom. And then I'll set it down. I might have to wear gloves. I'm gonna wear gloves because my meringues are pulling all the moisture from the air, and it is getting a little humid. I told you it goes from my kitchen, goes from like dry to humid overnight. It's like there's no rest for the weary. Okay, so let me get a tool here. What do I normally use? Oh, I know. All right, this is a gum paste tool. I'm gonna dig a tiny hole out of the inside of the top here, like this. Okay, that way when I put the stem in, it'll have something to grab onto. So here's a tall little stem. I'm gonna stick it in my white chocolate, and then it's gonna go into the hole. And usually you have to hold it a second. When it's cold, it kind of solidifies a little faster. And then you just leave it alone and you don't shake the table. So let me do a couple. It's kind of messy, but that's all I'm doing is just making a little divot in the bottom. Here's another stem that's just short and fat, and it's gonna go like that. I mean, look how adorable that is. It's super easy. And then that guy stands up. I'll take one more, make a little bit of a divot. And the French meringue is really nice for making mushrooms and the pavlova. Look at that, done. Easy peasy. And I've done a ton of videos on this. I'm obsessed with meringue mushrooms and twigs and all the, I love woodland themes, my fave. All right, so it's gonna go in here. And it doesn't even matter if you get a little too much of the white chocolate, because once it's all on something, it just doesn't have to be perfect. And that's coming from somebody who really tries to make everything even and the same. But when you're doing certain themes, you get a little bit of leeway. Yeah, my meringues are definitely getting sticky. And if you're using a taller stem on your mushroom, they're gonna be a little wobbly or a little harder to stick. And adding more chocolate isn't always the answer. Yeah, these are sticking to my hands. So what you can do if you're getting a lot of stickiness is to use powdered sugar on these and just tap a little bit of powdered sugar on there. And the reason I didn't do these in advance is because I wanted you to see me do them. And hopefully you'll see that they're easy and they don't have to be perfect. Okay, let me get one more. How many more tops do I have? And you should account for a little bit of breakage because these things do break while you're working with them. So I'm gonna do another short, chubby one. I like the little short, round ones. Okay. It's definitely sticky. So then I could take all these and I could put them on one tray and then shake matcha powder or matcha powder mixed with powdered sugar over the top, and they would look really whimsical. This is absolutely the same as decorating gingerbread houses. It's just a different variation on a theme. And there is a book I love, a children's book. The lady who did the mitten, Jan Brett, she does Mossy, and it's a little turtle, turtle dude inside a Victorian terrarium, and he gets all mossy as he ages. And it's inspiration for a cake I would love to do. Okay, so I don't think I have any more tops. This is what our mushrooms look like, okay? Just adorable, easy, and you'll see, I'll put these onto our plates. This is one of our bird's nest. They did not come out pretty, how come? What was not pretty about it? I would love to know. This is a bird's nest, which would be an individual pavlova, and then this is a different style. So these are two that I'm gonna do later. And I'm gonna show you my twigs, and then we're gonna start decorating. So this is the tool that I use just to dig out a little hole in the back of the top of the mushroom. If you take melted chocolate of any kind and put it on a parchment flat and let it firm up, then you can crack it and reuse it. And that's how I usually store it. This is how I lift the twig off so that I don't break it all. You want to put your hand underneath it, and rather than pulling the parchment away, you want to just rub your hand under there, and then you want to grab it by the firmest spot. And this is sticky. So that's a little twig, and you could do like sea creatures and things if you like. So if I had put some cocoa nibs or something on, it'd be a little more interesting. But I could also dust it with cocoa powder. So I have these little bird's nests that I could put a teeny tiny little meringue flower on, and this is going to go onto a larger pavlova. So are we ready to get started? I think we should start with a large pavlova, and then I'm going to show you how you would offer a buffet of small ones. Oh, they turned into blobs. Well, you probably need a stronger meringue, because if the meringue goes like that, you need to get the meringue stronger, and then you need to get it in the oven and dry them out as soon as you can. That's the other thing. My oven doesn't go below 170, which I really didn't like. So a lot of you have ovens that aren't the right temp for doing meringues, and I ended up just leaving them in longer. I ended up having to alter them. Actually, I left them in overnight. I would turn it on, not wanting it to be too hot, and then I would turn it off and leave them, so it was kind of weird. Yeah, so if they're turning into blobs, you don't have a strong enough meringue, but that's easy to solve. Okay, so I'm going to keep these nearby. I'm going to, so I need to decide, I'm going to do the blueberry pavlova first. So I took a meringue, and into the white, before I started whipping it, which is when your egg whites are the wettest, I added pulverized, freeze-dried blueberry, which made it a really pretty blue color. But I did this several days ago. So this pavlova is not servable, and it's wet because over the last several days, it has absorbed all the moisture in the air. And it's the sucrose or the sugar that's grabbing the moisture. That's what it does. That's its job. All right, so let me grab my meringue. These are my pistachios that were in the oven, and they toasted, and now they're cool. So I'm going to go ahead and put them into a container so that I can more easily access them while I'm working. And we'll do the blue. And with my blueberry pavlova, I'm going to do blues and greens. That's it. That's what I'm going to do. And this is my coconut. The coconut that I did a little too dark. It's 100% cool now. And I am going to just put it in here so I can use it. And I also want to say that you can sprinkle your meringues and things with desiccated coconut and then bake them on. You just have to be careful of the temperature. So I'm going to move this over here. I'm going to put all my fruit back here. This is the pavlova in question, and I did do a video and it looked really beautiful, but over the last few days, you know, it obviously soaked up moisture and it kind of sunk in, and the bottom is done. And I will show you what the bottom looks like. I don't think I'll be able to. I'm going to put this here. It's too soft. So this is my blue colored pavlova. If I had made this yesterday, it'd be fluffier and drier on the outside and then nice and chewy on the inside. And I'm going to slide it off onto here, and I'm going to pick the things I want to go on. So I'm going to use blueberries. I'm going to use blackberries. I'm going to use kiwi, blues and greens. What else? And even browns are pretty. And I like to use a streusel, and I've done a lot of videos on streusel. The pavlovas I've done, I do the streusels, and usually I have bigger pieces and they look like rocks. And so if I had that for this one, I would do chocolate streusels that look like rocks and build all around. So this brown is pretty, but we'll leave it over here for now. And I think oranges would be pretty, or even red, but we're gonna just go slow. So I'm gonna put these here. I'm gonna get my whipped cream. And this is my whipped cream. That's pretty stiff. Okay. I'm gonna taste it. You can see how firm it is. It's not coming off. That's pretty firm in my opinion. All right, tastes good. I have prepared the deli cup with my bag in here. And I already have this star tip. And I chose it based on just looks and what size I wanted to do. It's an open star tip, the bottom of this bag. Put my hand in here, and then I pull this pastry bag around the deli cup, and that way I can fill it. You look like a disembodied head. So I'm gonna put this in here, and then I'm gonna put the cream back in the refrigerator. And if I want it firmer, I might put it back on the paddle. So I'm gonna do this, and this is gonna go back in the fridge. Woohoo! Normally, I would be able to pick this up and put a little whipped cream on the bottom to make it stay like a cake. But because this is so wet, I'm gonna struggle to get it off. And again, the only reason this is happening is because it's old. This looked beautiful the other day, but I was saving it. Yeah, you can see it's all wet on the inside. Look at that. All right, so I want this to be in the middle. Woo! All wet. That's what humidity does to sugar. You just clean this up just a little bit in a paper towel. And I'm not gonna go crazy because I don't wanna waste a bunch of ingredients on this guy. But you want your cake stand to be nice and clean. You don't want it to be smudged. And the nice thing about a big glass cake stand is now I can build all around if I want. And this is what I mean. I can pull these cookies around, and I like things in 3. So I would do this and then just build little trails, a little bit of movement. Okay. And if I wanted this to look more like a flower, I could take meringue leaves and stick them around like this. So I can start to build a look, one idea at a time. So there's a leaf, there's a leaf, and you want everything to be off center and off kilter. That's what looks best. So then I would take like a little coconut and create a little bit of a trail like this, okay? You want to work on these kinds of things from the bottom up. I know I'm going to be building more into the center, but for now I want to kind of work on this part here. So even this white sucre gran, which is the big Swedish pearled sugar, I can do this. And just start to build a little bit of whimsy. And I could even do this just to get a little bit in here, but not too much. Okay, there's the sugar. I'm gonna get a little spoon of, this is a blueberry ginger from our farmer's market. Let me show you. So this is what the farmer would make, like real blueberries. So this isn't just like regular jam. So I'm going to take a couple of these blueberries and begin to build a little bit of visual interest. And I tend to like to put things in groups of 3. So I would use 3 blueberries. I'm gonna keep this moving. Okay. And then if you want, you can start to dollop this around. However, this would probably be best on the top. But I'm gonna go ahead and just put a little bit so you can see that I'm gonna start building texture, height, and flavor, and that's 3. So then I'm gonna take my bag of whipped cream. It's got a star tip on it. So I'm gonna go and just put a little bit of whipped cream here and there and start to build a little bit of movement and drama. And I want everything to be off center. So I use the golden triangle as my rule, and everything makes a triangle as I place it. Okay. I mean, these blackberries are hilarious. So I can do a couple things. I really do like cutting blackberries in half because I think the back side looks so beautiful. And what I would do is sort of turn this and then begin to build a look with this going around. And if I were doing this for anybody, like selling it or bringing it as a major dessert, I would do a little drawing and plan it out. With most pavlovas, the name of the game is voluminous, generous, fluffy. Then I'm going to take some blueberries and start to put them around. And you can just throw them on, but I'm looking for really big ones. and I'm going to put the top part where you can see it. And as I look at the other fruit, I want to build a triangle with them. So in other words, if you look at this, 1, 2, 3, that's a visual triangle. And that just, it helps with where to place things and knowing when to add an extra piece of fruit. So here needs an extra one. So if you think of putting things together in thirds, it will help you with your design. Whether it's all the same thing that makes 3 or 3 different things that make a group of 3. That way, if you're just doing 1 or 2, you can add a third and it makes it kind of cute. And I will show you exactly what I mean. 1, 2, 3. Okay? And if you want, you can make little trails of fruit. So you could do this. And you can look at it from above or from the side. Or this whole thing, maybe it's too much for you and you can just sprinkle everything on. That's up to you. So then the next thing is the kiwi. And I'm going to build some nice little piles of it. And a little there, a little there, a little there. Okay. A little more on the top. A little here. Okay. And then I have pistachio, which is green, which I think I will just sprinkle around. And I think the purples and greens and blues look really pretty together. And I'll let them kind of fall on the stand. A little bit of coconut. I could add a little bird's nest with some pistachios in it and put this right there. And then I'm going to do 3 of the decor. So I could do 1 flower and a little half flower. And that's it. Okay? That's the saddest, most pathetic one I'm going to do. The rest are all going to be epic. But it looks fun. You would serve this. These would all break like this. But as you can see, the inside is overly wet. And that's because I made these on Wednesday. Okay? And they're very, very wet. That's like a marshmallow wet. Okay? The other ones are not going to be like that. So we're going to do another one. It's going to be way better. And I'm going to turn this so you can watch me go get all my stuff. And I might need to take off these gloves and get a new pair. I'm going to put this over here. We can pull it out and look at it later. I think we should do a buffet. How's that sound? Okay, and this is what I'm going to do. I have these little plates, and I have, well, these are plates, and these are little bowls, okay? If you were serving a group, okay, and you wanted everyone to have an interactive experience, you would use little containers with spoons. And this is how it would go. So let's take in one bowl, we would have kiwi. Kiwi, what else? Some berries. This way, when people go through the line, they can get whatever they want. I'll do some grapefruit. Strawberry. And then I would have a larger bowl with whipped cream in it for people to serve themselves. We'll do some almond and some pineapple. And what else? A little coconut. And that's probably good for them. Okay, so you could either use a spoon or a little tong, you know, so people can grab the fruit. And you want one in each container. We'll do one more thing. Do some citrus. I love oranges. There we go. Beautiful. You would have little bowls with all your different toppings. And then go. Now I really like that these are brown, but they are overdone. I accidentally turned my oven on while I still had meringues in there, so I'm going to put the bird's nest onto the plate. And you could do this at a table with the bird's nest on a stand, like a tiered stand. All right, so here's how it would go. You would have your cream and your creams in containers, and people would come up and they would build their own, almost like a sundae bar. And you could start with, we'll do the passion cream. I want you to see how beautiful this turned out. This is the passion cream that I'm going to be posting tonight. I don't know if you can see exactly how creamy it is, but it is the smoothest, most luxurious thing ever. And I am going to put a little bit onto each egg's nest. Just like that. I'm going to leave room for some whipped cream and fruit. So people could walk up, they could grab whatever cream they like, lemon or passion. Okay. And for fun, you could have the meringue mushrooms on a little tray, a little bird's nest on trays, flowers on trays, anything you want. That way people could add those to their plate. Then I'm going to take a little whipped cream. Actually, we'll put the whipped cream on last. So then people would come along and they would say, oh, I want a little pineapple and I love strawberry, kiwi. And if it went on the sides of their plate and fell off to the edge, that would be fine. And so you can literally do whatever sorts of fruits you like. And then the whipped cream goes on top. And then maybe a little sprinkle of coconut. Okay? Literally anything. So this could be a buffet at your dining room table when you clear everything away and then you bring out the toppings and the little pavlovas. Okay? So then I will show you what this looks like when we break into it. So then people would go to their tables and they would have all the flavors of the season. And let me see if I can do this. These were also made last week. I think these are the ones I made when we were working. So it's not as chewy on the inside as it should be. But we have ones that I made today that'll be good. Yes, I mean, the meringue is really sweet. So what you need to do is balance it out with tart, rich like nuts, maybe a little bit of salt, a little salty nut. And I'm going to show you the other pavlova that was just made this morning. That is definitely good, but it is a little too crunchy. This was from last Wednesday. Okay, let's see. Clean this up and we're going to go to the next one. I'm going to use a cake stand for the next one. I'm not going to let any of this go to waste though, I promise you. I'm going to eat it. I'm going to show you what I have and then you guys can help me pick. I could either do first the round one or the rectangle. The rectangle and a round one. And I'm going to get a cake tray for the rectangle. So I have two cake stands that are rectangles and I need to decide which would be the better size. I actually think the smaller one is better. Okay. Here's what I'm going to do. The lemon curd is good for 7 days in the refrigerator, and this is a cream, and it can be frozen. My lemon curd cannot be frozen, but this lemon cream, oops, this is a lemon cream, can be in the fridge for 7 days or frozen. And this is just as smooth. These are labeled, but this is the passion, and this is the lemon. They're high in butterfat. I have a curd that's much tangier, but the lemon cream is very smooth. That's what I like about it. Okay, so I'm going to take some whipped cream and I'm going to stick the pavlova to it. I'm going to take this one because it's cracked. And I'm going to put it off center like that. And then I'm going to take the whipped cream. I'm going to build it like a cake. Okay. Whipped cream on here. And again, I would be wearing gloves if I were serving other people. And this is going to go on the top. And then I can take some lemon cream and I am going to dab it. I mean, this is the passion curd. Okay, beautiful. I'm going to take a tiny bit of whipped cream. I have a ton. Put it in between. And because this is passion fruit, I'm just going to go with some, well, it doesn't matter. I could go with color or I could go with flavor. There are so many ways to give people individual pavlovas and so many ways to do something that's really stunning and makes an impact. I'm going to take the kiwi and put it in between things. And the thing about a pavlova is it's going to spill over the edge eventually, so you don't need to push it around. I'm going to take the brightest pink and I'm going to put them in very deliberately on their sides. I think they look really pretty. And you may want to dab some of your fruit off onto a paper towel because they do get really, really wet. You don't want to add too much wetness. A little bit of orange. Again, it's a beautiful wedge, so maybe like this in between, and I'll show you the top. So we want it to look pretty, but and then you can offer the fruit on the side as well. And then if we want, we can take a couple of raspberries. So you can make this look really pretty, but then you can add more fruit later. So don't feel like you have to get everything on the pavlova, because you can add it in a bowl later. A little blueberry. You can also just sprinkle these on. You don't have to be so fussy. Nobody says it has to look perfect and it all could be falling off the edge. I mean, I could just as easily do this and let it drip down the sides, and that would be absolutely fine. As quick or as slow as you want. You do not want to store pavlova in the refrigerator. I'm not Brie, but I don't consider that insulting. She cared about everything she did in the kitchen. And everyone got to eat and enjoy it. This is pineapple, and it's a really light color, but it actually tastes really good. Oh, I need some streusel. So this streusel, I like to leave big pieces like this so that you can create a little bit of visual drama. They look like rocks to me. And you can stick them in sideways and get another one. Here's a big one. So that's kind of fun. And if you want, you know, you could even put one on the thing. There we go. So really, like, as you can see, I'm just having fun. I'm just adding things, and there's no rule about how it ends up. I do like choosing fruit that is all like the same color palette and really, you know, maybe thinking about what you're going to do. But you don't have to go crazy. So I'm going to take these giant guys because they are very decorative and not cut them and just put them on the top and not worry about it. There we go. We even put them here. Okay. A little bit of blueberry for moisture and color. Beautiful. All right, so do I want a decorative feature? If I want to put a little mushroom, I could take a tall mushroom. I don't think that looks that great. I think the little guys are cute. Where are my pistachios? Oh, here they are. A little pistachio, a little on the plate. And these pistachios I toasted so they have a little flavor. and they're dry, a little coconut, and I think that's it. So we'll leave that there. I have 3 little guys. Let's do something fun with these little guys. This is my little thing of like containers and stuff that I go to. And let's see. So let's use a sundae bowl. Use a sundae bowl. So I'm going to take one of these. I'll take a large one. It looks like this. And I'm going to put it in there. And then I'm going to take my lemon cream, which I haven't used yet. A little lemon cream. Look how this one's a little thicker than the passion curd. Very smooth. So smooth. And I am going to make, and you can make canals and much prettier than what I'm doing. I could use a scoop. So this is lemon, and then I could think, well, what do I want to pair with the lemon? And I could just do strawberries and raspberries. I've got this guy here. I could put 1 strawberry here. Strawberries to eat. Raspberry. Blueberry. A little whipped cream. And then for fun, and you could serve it like with this across. I could put this on here. It's like a flower. And put it right there. A little coconut. And there we go. What a beautiful little dessert. Now I'm going to show you a pavlova on a cake stand in a style that I like. Show a close-up view. Okay. This is like a sundae with the pavlova at the bottom, the meringue, a little flower. And this guy looks like this. It's kind of a mess, but that's okay. And you really do want to serve these right away. So I'm going to get a cake stand, and I'm getting a cake stand for this size. So I need to get one that works. I have them up there by the dinosaur, so let's go see. So I can do, it's pretty, or I could do all glass. I think I will do the glass. Here's what I'm going to do with this guy. Put a little whipped cream on here. Arrange that on there. And on this guy, I made a little divot in the top before I baked it. And this is the Edmonds from New Zealand. This is that one. And it is a little grainier than the other ones, but it's also, and I'm going to cut this one for you guys, but what I can do is take the whipped cream that I have, and I'm going to pipe around it like a cake. A little border just around. So the whipped cream will be built into the pavlova. Like that. All right, so that's all my whipped cream in there. So it looks cute. Just around there. And then I'm going to add the lemon cream to the center. Generously, because this would be something I would serve at the table. I would do that. And then you could leave it and bring it to the table, and everyone gets a slice like on a cake, and then they add their own toppings. You could continue to put berries on here, but I'm going to go ahead and cut this so you guys can see what it looks like cut. I'm going to put it on a plate like this. So this would be served just like a cake, and you would cut a slice. And this one I baked yesterday, okay? I'm going to show you what the inside looks like. So the inside, other than this lemon cream, is chewy. See that? That's the soft part, and this is the crunchy part. Okay, let me cut one more piece. Oop. And then you can add whatever toppings you want to this and more whipped cream with a fork. Should be the chewy part in the center. See the soft part? I like them together. A little chewy and the soft part. Oh my God, I knew I would. Whenever you try to be like discreet, it doesn't work. All right, so I'm also going to cut into this guy and see, this one was baked today. Let's see. This has a lot of whipped cream in there, but let's see how chewy. It's soft. The fork goes through it. This one was baked this morning. Okay. This is what I would normally do. I would normally pull things apart and look at them. So let's do that. So this is the crunchy exterior and the soft marshmallowy interior. Okay, soft. So you want to get a good combination of soft and crunchy. That's where the real fun comes in. And I could have baked that longer, left it overnight in the oven. So you have to play with it. I'd love to eat all this, I'm dying. You have to play with exactly how crunchy you want the exterior and how soft you want the interior. See, this one's a little firmer than today's. It's like a marshmallow with the crunchy parts. And that is exactly why I enjoy this, because it's like a chip with the soft chewy part. Delicious. Let me rinse off a couple things. Am I missing anything? Well, then I have one really big one, but it's really dark. I also think that this crunch is so good. Yep. All about the flavor combinations. Let me pull a couple. Let me just show you these. I'm gonna break them up, and then we're gonna be done. I'm gonna crack these over so you can see them. These were in my oven. They were beautiful. This is just a scoop with a swoosh out the top. But then I turned the oven on to heat it up for something else. And this is when the water, the heat, steamed the water so it was expressed. So when you bake a meringue at 200, 150, you're dehydrating it. You will eventually caramelize it, but you're dehydrating it. If you find that a lot of moisture is being expressed like that, and this was all over the parchment, that means you're going too high. So again, this was made a couple days ago. This experiment's a little odd. But if you were to open this, you would see there's the soft part. Here's the soft interior. It's like an extra sweet angel food cake with the caramelized crunchy exterior. So it's like a sponge, and if I were to smush this, watch. See, you can smush it all the way flat, compress it. But that is where the air is. Okay, that's the soft, airy stuff. And then that's the crunchy part. Now again, it's not supposed to be quite this dark, but it's actually really tasty. But that's what happened to that. And then here's the bird's nest. That's how dry it is. So it should not be so dry in the inside. I mean, that's what happens to sugar when it gets overcooked. Like if you do a cookie that ends up like this, there's too much sugar. So the moisture evaporates and then the sugar caramelizes and you end up with almost a honeycomb structure. If you've ever had like that fairy food, that's kind of what it's like. It's made a little bit differently, but that is what it's like. Let me get one of the other bird's nests to show you. So this is a bird's nest that was baked right away, but it's been sitting for days and days. I don't know how it's gonna work. It's pretty, oh, there you go. There's the chewy inside. That's how it should be. Chewy on the inside, crunchy on the outside. A little too chewy. But again, some of these are really old. So the ones that were new, this was today, this was yesterday. So they're all a little bit different. They shouldn't be eggy. If they taste eggy, you most likely baked them too fast. When we are all done, I'm gonna eat all this. We'll just go around with a fork, kind of eat everything and taste it all. Okay. I have the messiest kitchen I've had since I started doing this, don't I? A pavlova and a meringue. The pavlova is really when you make it look like a dessert, a ballerina's tutu. It's a larger domed shape. I mean, it can be made into a roulade. I've made the Ottolenghi roulade. His has vinegar in it. No cornstarch, but vinegar. I really like that recipe. But meringues that they all have different names. The kind of meringue that you use, whether it's a Swiss, a French, a common, an Italian, all these different meringues mean a couple different things. Some is how much sugar's in there. Is it 1-to-1 or is it 1-to-2? Also, do you cook them or not? A meringue that is baked is different than an Italian meringue. Swiss meringue is lightly cooked over a bain-marie, 60 degrees Celsius. In Italian meringue, you cook the sugar to like, let's say 120 Celsius and you pour it over the eggs. That's gonna make it more stable, less water, more stable, higher temperature. This meringue, you can either do a 1-to-1 sugar or a 1 to 1.5. So if you have more sugar, it's sugar to egg white. The more sugar you have, the more stable your meringue is. So if you have more sugar and you make little cookies and you bake it in the oven, it's going to get dry and crunchy all the way through. A pavlova is, you know, these averages are all a little bit different. 100% egg white to 150% to 225% sugar that you then pile up so that the outside gets crunchy and the inside stays soft. It says, mine leaked a yellow sugar liquid when it was baking. What could I have done wrong? Well, it could be one of two things. Number one, your oven is too hot and that causes steam and the moisture to be evaporating too quickly because you need to slowly dehydrate it. But the other thing could be in the meringue. Either you didn't whip it until it was stable enough, meaning getting the water to lock in, or you let it sit for a while, which means the water starts to unlock. So you want to mix that meringue till it's nice and strong, and then you want to get it in the oven immediately at 200 or lower. Some of these recipes will say 250 and whatever, but I found anything over 200 is too high. Again, that is something you will have to determine depending on where you live, what your humidity is like, what kind of oven you have. There are so many factors. That's why I want you to go to Substack and take a look at this chart that I did. And I love my favorites. I love the Donna Haye meringue, although her entire method is all on high speed and completely different. You think it's overdone, but I really liked it. And the Edmonds, excellent, from New Zealand, that's excellent. And then the one I gave you is identical to the recipe that's in about 5 textbooks I have. So what you want to do is kind of try these out and see what you think. The yellow liquid is sugar. It's sugar water. Because basically when you add sugar to your egg white, you're wanting to dissolve the sugar so it's not grainy. And then once you get it into a nice strong, egg emulsion, egg foam, a meringue, get it in the oven right away. You could also dust it with 10X to help dry out the outside. I started at 200, maybe turn it down to 170 once I put something in, or maybe I'll start it at 170 and leave it longer. I mean, you have to play with what you're doing, and every time you change the shape, you change everything. And you can see that all my little guys here, they're all sticky. They're all sticky. Oh, look at that, it's soft. So I could say, oh, that's a terrible recipe, but that's not the truth. The truth is I could have done 10 things to make these not sticky, or it's just too humid here and the weather's not right for making meringues. You need to think about that and then kind of like, how can you adjust and then test things, test out different recipes. And if anyone wants these recipes, like Donna, Haye, and Edmonds, just Google them. That's where I got mine. And I took tons of notes. The matzo streusel, which I highly recommend, and it's like a neutral flavor. You could make it into a million things. I got on, yeah, this is Epicurious. So it was a strawberry rhubarb compote with matzo streusel topping, and I just took the streusel topping. It's gluten-free, good for Passover. And then I looked through all my other recipes. I looked at so many meringues this week. And then if you guys want, I'm going to be doing a video on the passion cream from L'Oreal. It's to die for, highly recommend. And I've done this lemon cream many times. If you're making the pavlova for next week, any of these recipes will work. I want you to pick the one that you think the method is the most comfortable, and the one I've posted is the most tedious and technical. And if I were recommending, if you're new to these, I would do the Edmonds or the Donna Haye. That's what I would do. I liked both of them. Good luck and plan out what you're gonna put on top. It's gonna be great. All right, so I'm gonna hit start. You have 5 minutes to pick next week's recipe, and your choices are sponge cake, French sponge cake, anglaise with a oeufs à la neige variation in all the creams, because it's not just anglaise. I'm going to explain these other creams as well, and then creme brulee. All right, start. Start. In progress. So we worked on a pavlova this week, and yes, you just voted, okay. So I made a pavlova on Wednesday, and then I've made 3 or 4 different batches since then, and your best bet is to make it and serve it. So if you make it last night, leave it in the oven with the oven turned off and then serve it today. If you have to store it longer than that, you will risk the interior getting too soggy, things separating, stuff like that. So I would serve it right away. Off topic, but I did a red velvet and the middle didn't bake and like the outer part got burned. Well, you may have had too hot of an oven. You may have filled the pan too high. I would just say those were maybe your 2 things. And my number 1 thing is to always say, like, do you have an oven thermometer? Because if you have an oven thermometer, you can dial in the oven. If it's too hot, you get this really good rise, and then it crusts up, and then the inside stays wet and has nowhere to go because the top is crusted up, and then the top burns. Oh, good. Yeah, YouTube I really am learning how to edit these much quicker. So these videos live there, and I try to take out a lot of the chitter chatter so that we can get straight to the information. But if you missed any of my lives, you can go back and catch up, and those recipes are on my link tree, and then you can do them whenever you feel like it. And you know, I'm always open to you guys asking me questions and stuff. Every Wednesday I come and I teach a recipe that you guys vote on. I lecture it, demo it, and then we come back on Sundays and kind of tie up loose ends or answer any questions. So the pavlova's fun. I'm obsessed with them. If you go to my meringue playlist, there's a ton of them. All right. The sponge, I'm going to read it this time. Maybe I should take a picture. Sponge cake at 57.89%, anglaise at 10.53%, and creme brulee at 31%. All right, so we're going to do the sponge cake, which is great. You guys are going to love it. All right, well here, this is the PoP, right? We are practitioners of pastry. We're a baking club that's free. All you have to do is come and enjoy baking and want to learn a little bit about it. And if you miss them, you can watch them on YouTube on repeat. If you're not a baker, sometimes it's just kind of nice to know how the foods that you eat or what are on people's menus. What does it mean? What is it? And that's kind of what we explain from an ingredient function point of view. So this Wednesday at 6 p.m. right here on live on TikTok, I will be meeting you with a sponge cake, a French sponge cake that I will lecture and demo. The recipe will be available on my link tree. So you'll have the recipe on the link tree. You'll come back on Wednesday. You'll listen to a lecture and watch me make it and watch me do a demonstration of the recipe. And then we'll come back on Sunday and talk and finish it, fill it. Maybe I'll do some interesting fillings. So I use it as the central recipe of the week, and then I build all my other lessons around it. So there are videos that will live on my profile page if you want to learn more about the cake, methods, anything that I think of that seems like a learning or teaching moment, I put into video format. One of my videos was about how to crack eggs without getting any yolk in it. And you know, you might think that I never have that problem, but the reason I made that video is because last week I got to, you know, egg number 13 and then I got a little yolk in there. So, you know, so even I have to be careful and separate things out. You can't get cocky. You have to set up systems that make you win. And so I made a video about that. And that is how I prevent loss of ingredients and do a better job. So that's it. We got through. You know, this is week number 7. Isn't that crazy? We've been doing this for 7 weeks. We've done the blondie, the chocolate chip cookie. We did the pat a choux. We did a high ratio yellow cake. I mean, we've done so many things. It's been so fun. So next week we'll do the French sponge cake. It's gonna be great. This sponge cake is going to be a cake that you can use for celebrations, weddings, and things like that. It's gonna be a nice, stable, thick, delicious sponge cake. So this is gonna be a nice, sturdy cake that you will want to build on. So it's not meant to be eaten by itself, and you don't have to stack it, but it'll be really nice. We bake every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and then I come back on Sundays at noon Eastern Standard Time, and we kind of wrap it all up and talk about how to put things together and answer questions. But if you miss anything, you're not behind. You can go, you want to know, and start at the very beginning. There's part 1 on Wednesdays, part 2's on Sundays. So you can go back and watch part 1, part 2. I have them listed on YouTube under a playlist of the name of the recipe. So it'll be CCC is a chocolate chip cookie, part 1, part 2. Blondie, part 1, part 2. So you can pick your subjects if you want to. I'm so glad you discovered me too. Just basically teaching the same way I would in real life if I had a class. I taught the college level for years, so I'm kind of doing the same thing. Thank you for coming. Thank you, everybody. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your weekend. I don't sell pastries. I just teach. I do not want to have a bakery or sell. I want to continue to teach. And, you know, maybe some day we'll have some in live opportunities. I'm not on Instagram anymore. When they shut down TikTok, I just consolidated. I'm on Substack, YouTube, and TikTok. And if you go to Substack, you're going to get all my written. You're going to get charts and all my notes that make all this stuff make sense. So here you'll get the recipes and the info, but there you will get more written information. Powdered sugar has been milled 10 times, so it's super fine, and it has 3 to 5% cornstarch in it. And that cornstarch is super important. Have a wonderful week. Happy baking, and I will see you on Wednesday for the French sponge cake. Alrighty, bye. Happy Sunday.